You're sprawled across the bed in a particularly lethargic mood when Kylo returns that night. He leans against the doorframe, crossing his arms over his massive chest as he looks down at you. So remember how I said I would do anything for you? You roll over onto your back and look up at him upside down as your head dangles off the edge of the bed. The tips of your hair are just gracing the top of the carpet, but you pay it no mind. Is this a sex thing? You ask, raising an eyebrow. It could be, he says with good humor in his voice as he comes around to sit on the bed beside you. You run your fingers over his forearm absent-mindedly as you wait for him to continue. You don't have to stay here anymore. Stay here, you repeat, pulling yourself into a seated position. What do you mean I don't have to stay here? I want to stay with you. I mean you're no longer a prisoner here, he explains. You don't have to stay locked in here all day. Oh, you say quietly, glancing down and away. You can hear his quiet chuckle, and it slowly draws your eyes back up to his face. Of course, I do appreciate that you want to. You press your lips against his to stop him from talking. Nowhere else I'd rather be, you say simply as you pull away from him. But seriously, if I have free run of the base, does that mean I'm expected to do something? You don't have free run of the base, he corrects you. In fact, you'll be escorted wherever you go. Fantastic, you murmur under your breath. But I spoke to Captain Phasma. He takes a deep breath in and lets it out, and you are allowed to return to your self-defense classes should you wish to do so. Your face drops immediately. Does that mean I don't get to spar with you anymore? He tilts his head to the side. No, does that mean you're not going to be, here anymore? Does that mean you're going to be gone more? You press. Are you going away again? Because it feels like you just got back. He pushes a small smile to his face as he brushes your hair out of your eyes. I thought this would please you. You bite your lip and take a moment to process this. It does, you say softly. I guess I'm just waiting for there to be a catch. His smile suddenly turns sad as he strokes your cheek with his thumb. You've been locked in here alone for far too long. To tell the truth, you were getting sort of restless staying in here day in and day out, but you thought you had kept the shield up and were doing a good job keeping your negative thoughts out of his reach. Apparently not. If he was actually doing something about it, it probably meant that your melancholy had started to impact him, although you couldn't be sure if that was something that was altogether beneficial. And I have nothing to fear from Hux? You ask nervously, and Kylo just shakes his head. Okay, no, this is good. You nod quickly, as if trying to confirm this to yourself. I get it. I get what you're trying to do. You want me to be comfortable here. You shrug half-heartedly. You know I'm not going to try to escape now. You trust me. So this is good. He hesitates, looking you over, studying your face. You don't look so sure. It's weird, you tell him after a minute. I never really thought that Starkiller Base would become my home. But you're here, and Ladson's here, and Phasma's sort of my friend. I don't know, I never really thought about making a life for myself here, but I guess I could. Your eyes stare to his. With you. He looks sufficiently uncomfortable, and you quickly look away again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... But he presses his lips to yours to prevent you from talking this time, and your hands grab at his shoulders, pulling him down on top of you, trying to figure out what this meant. You could see the big picture here. He was giving you clearance to go back to your self-defense classes, but that was just the first step. Soon the escorts would stop, and you would be free to move her around the ship on your own. Would he give you a job after that? What could you really do on the Starkiller Base? You didn't want to do menial labor, but at the same time, if it would help you meet new people and actually break up the monotony of your days, then did it really matter what you did? You're thinking too much, Kylo observes as he pulls away from you slightly. I don't know. You shrug, still uncomfortable. Like I said, I just never thought I'd be spending the rest of my life on the Starkiller Base. If it means anything, I doubt you'll be spending the rest of your life here, Kylo emphasizes. This is just a military installation. There may come a time when we will move our operations elsewhere. Oh, you say, thinking it over. Then, I don't know. I never really expected to be spending the rest of my life with you. Kylo looks at you as if waiting for you to withdraw or apologize for your previous statement, but you don't. It hangs in the air, floating between you like some dark, intangible cloud. If you moved bases, you would take me with you, right? Yes, he says immediately, and it brings a smile to your lips. You knew it was probably dangerous to have this conversation when Kylo hadn't even told you that he loved you yet, but you couldn't help it. You loved him, and if you were no longer a prisoner here, then that meant you were staying with him of your own volition. Wasn't that what you wanted? You decide to test those waters a bit. I mean, self-defense classes are good and all, but what about flying a ship, you ask? I mean, just in case I want to tour the galaxy or something, can I get piloting lessons too? He narrows his eyes at you, and you blush as you look away. Fair enough. Trapped on the Starkiller Base, I shall remain. Not trapped, he says firmly, and you reach up and brush your nose against his. Not trapped, you repeat. But if I am taking self-defense classes, maybe we should spar a little bit more. Make sure I'm in good shape before I head down there. I don't want to get my ass kicked. I sincerely doubt that will happen, Kylo says, but he rolls off the bed regardless as you head over to the other side of the room, turning to face him. Suddenly you thrust your right arm out in the air and wait for it. Wait for it. Your staff comes hurtling out of your crate into your ready hands. You hold it out at an angle against your body, not hitting the button, but mentally using the force to will it to expand to its full length. It does, completing the entire sequence in one fluid motion. Kylo just shakes his head, but you can't help yourself. You let out a little jump, heels slamming into your butt as you hold your staff out in front of you with both hands. I did it! You squeal. I did it! I am such a badass! We'll see, Kylo says. He wastes no time taking a step toward you, and that's when his staff flies at you from across the opposite wall, and you drop and roll, avoiding them both. The staff finds Kylo's hand, and he grins wickedly as he appraises you. You slowly circle each other, both of your staves at the ready. Ready? Born ready, you reply simply as you get ready to spar. Kylo steps forward and brings his staff down in an uppercut, but you're ready for him. Legs spread and knees bent, you have no trouble holding up your staff in both hands, one hand locked on either side of your staff, as he brings his staff down in the center of yours. Your arms recoil slightly at the impact, but you hold steady. You slowly slide your staff down his before pulling back slightly, trying to thrust forward with your staff to knock him off balance, but he easily tips his staff back and blocks you, the bottom of his staff again striking against the dead center of yours. You immediately pull back and twist your body, sliding your hands down but keeping your palms facing in opposite directions as you swing your staff towards his. He echoes the motion and your two staffs collide, making a large X shape in the air. You're not strong enough to push him, so you just keep your balance and play defensively, waiting for him to make the next move. Suddenly, he takes a quick step back and drops the staff horizontally to one side of his body, as if holding a pool cue, staff held between his thumb and forefinger to allow better mobility. You quickly step back, foot over foot, as you push your staff out vertically in front of you, blocking his horizontal thrust. The base of your staff hits the tip of his with a clank as it pushes it out to the side, away from you. Good move, he breathes, and you let out a cocky smile. Inspired by his compliment, you decide to get a little dramatic and grab your staff in one hand, spinning figure eights first on the left side of your body and then your right, going back and forth with this motion as you take a few steps backward, trying to put some more distance between you. Kylo rolls his eyes but echoes your movement. His spins are a lot faster and smoother than yours as he twirls the staff around in his long fingers and steps towards you instead of away. Finally, your back is at the wall and you have nowhere else to go, and you strike towards him in a slanted uppercut, which he easily blocks, again forming a large X shape in the air with your two crossed stabs. This time, he uses his weight to push the tip of both stabs into the carpet, still crossed, although yours is underneath his. You don't have time to do anything with it, however, as he rapidly picks up his staff as he leans back and twirls it forward at a horizontal angle. You immediately duck, almost but not quite falling onto your knees, as you can feel the top of his staff just skirt over the hair on the top of your head. Okay, too close. He doesn't give you time to recover. He crosses his right foot deftly behind his left as he bends his legs and steeps into an almost bow, trying to hit you again in a low strike. At first you think you can block it, but you see the force coming in behind the blow, and you immediately jump as high as you can, pulling your knees into your chest. You land with your legs in a wide stance, but Kylo again doesn't give you any time to respond as he thrusts his staff out horizontally towards you, aiming for your right shoulder, and it's all you can do to bring your staff up and across your body in a vertical block to push it out of the way. Okay, enough, you say quickly. Enough, or I'm not going to have a long life left. Kylo doesn't say anything, but he simply twists the corner of his mouth in a triumphant smile. Oh, come on, you don't have to be so cocky. It was obvious that you were going to win that. But I didn't hit you, he notes. So what, you want to call this a draw? You ask, eyebrows raised. The great Kylo Ren will admit that he lost to a girl in her pajamas. I didn't lose if it's a draw, Kylo says, although his voice is a little stiff. You love taunting him, or better yet, you love watching him try to control himself after your taunts. You don't mean anything by it, and he knows you don't, and yet his ego is so sensitive anyway. So, do I get some sort of special prize for winning? You ask, goading him on. You didn't win, he insists. Not yet, you say, lowering your stance as you bring your staff to the back of his knees. He just manages to bring his staff around to block it in time, but you can tell by the expression on his face that was a close one, and he had not seen that coming. Fight me or fuck me, you offer, biting your lip to make the offer as suggestive as possible. Both, he decides. You continue to spar for a few more minutes until he literally knocks the staff out of your hands. You catch his with both hands and wrestle it out of his grip, tossing it to the side. With no weapons left, you're just left with your hands, and you know exactly what to do with those. Two days later, you head off to self-defense class a bit earlier than usual. You know it's not going to be the same without Sadie or Ladson, but you hope you can possibly see Shane there. You don't really have any sort of plan to help him escape. If you do, you doubt that you'll even see him, but you can't help but wonder what had happened to him. Regardless, you follow the stormtrooper outside your door through the corridors as you head towards the training room. Well, look who it is, Captain Phasma says as you walk in. She eyes the purple marks on your neck that you have since stopped trying to conceal. How have you been faring? Well, you reply happily. I've really managed to make some good progress with that staff you gave me. I almost beat Ren with it yesterday. She fixes you with her steely gaze as she screws up the corner of her mouth, appraising you. I'm sure. I did, you insist, unable to conceal a laugh, although he might not have been going full strength on me. She tilts her head to the side as if considering this. Fair, she relents. So are you ready to lead today's lesson? Lead? You practically shout at her. What do you mean by lead? Lead, she repeats. Did Ren not tell you? You curse petulantly under your breath, crossing your arms over your chest. I'll take that as a no. What am I supposed to do? You ask her, your voice bordering on frantic. I'm not a leader. I can't lead. I can't even yell. Try it, Phasma encourages. Say something. Be bold and commanding. Like what? You ask her. There's only a few people milling about in the gym, but you still don't want to make an ass of yourself if you don't have to. After all, people knew how close you were to Kylo Ren, and that meant you had a reputation to maintain. Phasma yells, All right, listen up! Immediately, everyone in the gym is silenced by her booming voice. It's so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Go back to your business! And just as quickly, the murmurs of quiet conversation start again. It wasn't just that she was loud. She commanded respect in her tone. All right, now you try. I don't want to do this, you warn her. She gives you a look and gestures for you to try. All right, listen up, you shout, but your voice comes out as more of a cross between a shriek and a bellow, and people look up, but more to figure out what the hell that sound was. That was absolutely pitiful, Phasma informs you. Try it again, just not as loud this time. Be firm. Right, you say, sucking in a breath. You turn to a group of about 4 or 5 people off to her right. Hey, you there, listen up! They turn to you, acknowledging your command, but they don't stop talking. If anything, they probably only humored you because you were standing right next to Phasma. For some reason, the thought angers you. You may not have had her rank, but didn't they know who you were? Didn't your relationship to Kylo Ren give you any status at all? I said listen up, you snap, and you raise one hand in the air without even realizing it. One of the people closest to you trips and falls backwards suddenly, taking everyone else down with them. Your shoulders rise and fall with your breaths, and you just know in the back of your mind that Kylo felt that. That was not a conversation you were looking forward to having tonight. Phasma turns back to you, eyebrows raised. If you're not mistaken, she looks almost a little alarmed, but not put off completely. Please do not use that in here. Sorry, you say quickly, but it got them to listen, didn't it? Fair. She tilts her head to the side in consideration. But please remember that these people work in auxiliary roles. They don't have daily contact with Ren, if at all. All they hear of him are rumors, and they don't know who you are, nor do I believe they really know what the Force is. Noted, you say. But that's fair. Now I can learn to be scary in my own right, instead of just scary based on his reputation. Scary? She raises an eyebrow. You want to be scary. Not scary, you tell her. Tough. A badass. I want people to jump when I say their names. I want to command respect and attention and why are you laughing? I can see a great deal of his influence has rubbed off on you, she says, bursting into another fit of laughter. I'm sorry, but it's very cute. You cross your arms over your chest and stand with your legs spread wide, back straight, trying to make yourself seem taller. You glare at her, lips pulled tightly over your teeth in a scowl. Better. You sigh and drop your arms, leaning forward at your waist. Maybe this was a mistake. Not a mistake, Phasma replies. If Ren wanted you to be here, then he obviously thought that you had potential to do it, right? You don't want to smile, not at all, but you can't help but let one slip as you think about how impressed he was by you. You feel a blush come over your cheeks and you just stare at Phasma, mentally willing her not to laugh again. Not a word. None, she says simply. So how about this? For the first week, just watch me. Follow my lead, and the next week I will let you start to take over. All right? I think I can do that, you tell her. Your palms feel sweaty, and you almost want to run and hide. You had sometimes previously interpreted in large settings where you knew other people were watching you, but they just saw your hands moving, and most there didn't know what it meant, so it took the pressure off. Additionally, the words that you were saying weren't yours. They were someone else's. So you were never called upon to make decisions or be significant in your own right. But that part of your life was behind you now. Now you were going to have to stand up and lead people, and yes, even though it was just a bunch of non-essential personnel in a military installation, it was still a step in the right direction. Maybe Kylo was training you to become a leader so that one day you could rule the galaxy beside him. You had never wanted to rule. You had always wanted to be invisible. You had thought so the first day that you had met Kylo Ren. Heck, you had wanted to even be invisible when Phasma had first called you up to use you as a model subject in your first self-defense class. But maybe this was a change for you, and maybe it was time to embrace the changes happening to you, around you, and accept your new circumstances as the start of a new life on the Starkiller Base. You see more people start filling in the gym, and you see Phasma watching them, getting ready to make the announcement to line up. Instead, you stand up next to her, putting your hands on your hips as you suck air deep into your diaphragm. Okay, we don't have a lot of time today. Let's get a move on. Line up, people. Come on. The people closest to you immediately look up at you, their eyebrows nodding together in confusion. They don't know who you are, but there's authority in your voice, and you're standing beside Phasma, so at least that much warrants their attention. Still, people start to line up, and Phasma turns her head to look down at you. See? They'll listen. It was then that you decided that you wouldn't earn their respect, you would command it. You weren't sure how, and you weren't sure how you could do it by force or intimidation alone. After all, you were not Kylo Ren, but you had your own way of getting things done. When everyone was practicing drills, you went up to each person, introducing yourself by name, never once hinting at your affiliation with Kylo Ren. You recognized a few people as regulars, but none seemed to remember you, as you asked each of their names, their professions, why they were here, and what they hoped to learn. You critiqued their form during drills, again served as a model for Phasma without showing the least bit of fear or reluctance, and then sparred with each of them in turn, making sure to hold nothing back as you smacked them onto the mat, letting them know that you were not one to be reckoned with. I think that went well, Phasma says after your first day. You can't sure if she's being sarcastic or not, but there's still people in the training room, so you just cross your arms over your chest and nod non-committally, surveying the room with your eyes. Having power was fun, you decided, even if it was only over a small group of expendable people. Even still, maybe if you played your part here well, there would be room for a promotion. You've never been an ambitious person before, but maybe your bond with Kylo was allowing him to influence you in more ways than you had previously thought. And as long as you allowed yourself to be influenced by the positive aspects of Kylo's character, you saw nothing wrong with that at all. You would have to try to find a way to spend more time with Ladson to keep yourself in check, to make sure you weren't losing a sense of who you truly were, but you weren't too concerned. You just had to have confidence in yourself. You would figure this out. No matter what happened, you had always been able to rely on yourself, and this was no different. You wanted to rescue Sadie, and you rescued Sadie. You wanted to see Latson, and you saw Latson. You wanted Kylo Ren, and guess what? You got him. You stand with your arms folded across your chest as you watch everyone leave the room. You would have their respect, maybe not in a week, maybe not in a month, but give it enough time, and they would come to regard you the same way they regarded Phasma, with a submissive sense of obedience as they scurried to carry out whatever order she commanded. You were a patient person, and it didn't matter to you how long it took them to obey, only that they did. Setting up a flexible timeline in your head, you expected to command their respect by at least the 6th week. You had it by the 3rd. When you told them to line up at the beginning of class, they scampered like mice to get in their positions, forming neat little rows in front of you. It was almost as though they were your own little private army to control and command, and you weren't ashamed to admit that you loved every moment of it.